Hi, I'm Patricia from the crochet blog Pops to Milk. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this scrumptious donut amigurumi. The full written instructions can be found on my website, popstomilk.com, and you can also purchase the pattern in my Etsy shop. Now let's get started. For this donut amigurumi, I'll be using worsted weight category 4 acrylic yarn. I'm using Bernat Super Value in color oatmeal for the donut base and baby pink for the icing, which is also Bernat Super Value. I'll also be using my 4mm G hook as well as a stitch marker. And lastly, I don't have it on camera now, but you'll need a bit of stuffing for your donut. Okay, so starting with the donut base and using the color oatmeal, I'm going to start by making 12 chains, which I will then join to make a ring. Now, without twisting the chains, insert the hook into the first chain and make a slip stitch to form a ring. Next, I'm going to chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch, and I'm going to single crochet into the same space as the slip stitch and in each chain around. At the end of the round, don't slip stitch or turn because for the rest of the pattern, we'll be working in continuous spiral rounds. In round 2, we're going to work even, which means it's a single crochet in each stitch around without making any increases or decreases. And don't forget to place a stitch marker so you can keep track of your rounds. For round 3, we're going to start increasing by working an increase, which is 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch, followed by 1 single crochet stitch in the next stitch, and we'll repeat that around 6 times, and in the end we'll have 18 stitches in total. Alright, so round 3 is done, and we'll continue to increase in the next 2 rounds, rounds 4 and 5. In round 4, we'll work an increase followed by 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches for a total of 24 stitches. And in round 5, we'll work an increase followed by 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches for a total of 30 stitches. I'll work on that and meet you back at the end of round 5. Alright, I've reached the end of round 5 and I have 30 stitches in total. Now I'm going to work even for rounds 6 to 8, so no increases or decreases, just single crochet in each stitch. And here's what my donut is looking like, which does not look like a donut at all. But I've just done 3 rounds of working even, so rounds 6, 7, and 8, and now I'm ready to start decreasing. For rounds 9 to 11, we're going to decrease. In round 9, we'll decrease, which is working 1 single crochet over 2 stitches, followed by 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. In round 10, we'll work a decrease, followed by 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And lastly, in round 11, we'll work a decrease followed by 1 single crochet in the next stitch for a total of 12 stitches at the end. Okay, I've just completed round 11 and I've got 12 stitches. Now for round 12, our final round, I'm going to work even before we fasten off. When you cut your yarn, make sure to leave enough yarn for sewing because the next step will be to sew the donut together. So to do this, we'll work through both layers from the first round and the last round of the donut. I'm only going to whip stitch a few stitches so that I have room to add stuffing before I continue sewing. When I'm using stuffing, I like to pull it apart a little and fluff it out because when it comes out of its packaging, it's very densely packed and not as easy to work with. Sometimes I use a chopstick, pencil, or scissors to help get the stuffing into my amigurumi, especially when it's a small piece I'm working on. This donut looks pretty well stuffed at this point, but I'll check for lumps and make sure it's as smooth as possible before I continue to sew the seams. This step can get a little tricky and awkward, but just take your time. Now that the seam is securely closed, I'm going to weave the yarn a few times to make sure nothing comes undone before I cut the yarn. And here we have our finished donut base. Now let's make the icing. For the icing, I'm using baby pink yarn and I'm going to leave a long tail before I chain 14 so that I can use that tail to sew into the donut hole. Just like the donut's base, I'm going to join with a slip stitch, being careful not to twist the chains. Then I'm going to chain 1, and again, this does not count as a stitch. and single crochet in the same space as the slip stitch and in each single crochet around. At the end of the round, do not slip stitch to join or turn because we'll be working into continuous rounds again. In round 2, we're going to increase in the first stitch and work 1 single crochet into the next stitch and repeat that 7 times around for a total of 21 stitches at the end of the round. Our last round, we're going to increase in the first stitch and work 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches and repeat that 7 times around for a total of 28 stitches at the end of the round. Now we're going to cut the yarn and leave a long tail so we can use it to sew onto the outer part of the donut. But before we sew the icing onto the donut, it needs sprinkles. For the sprinkles, I've got small amounts of yarn in different colors. You can use any colors you like. You could also use buttons or beads to make your sprinkles. Alright, so we have our sprinkles on the icing and now it's time to sew this onto the donut base. I like to start with the donut hole first because once it's attached, it's easier to sew the outer part of the icing. To finish securing the yarn tail, I'm going to weave it in a few times and then wrap it around the inside before I move on to sewing the rest of the icing. Alright, I have finished stitching the icing onto the donut, and now I'm going to weave in the end a few times to secure everything in place. And there you have it, a cute and scrumptious donut amigurumi. This donut can be used to make a keychain, or super cute home decor, or it could be used as play food. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I found it helpful. If you make this donut amigurumi, I would love to see your creations. You can follow me on Instagram and use the hashtag #PopsToMilk. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.